What's up, guys? It's your boy Justin with this month's book review. Today we're reviewing Revelation Space by Alastair Reynolds. This is part 1 of his The Inhibitor trilogy, published by Orbit. This was originally published in 2000. This edition came out in 2020. And the introduction by Peter F. Hamilton, who's a famous science fiction author, was from like 2002. So I'm gonna keep this review short. At least I'm gonna try to. So I'm gonna sound this review is gonna sound very negative, but I did think the book was really good. But I felt like I was tricked into buying and reviewing, not reviewing obviously, buying the book because I was in the science fiction mood, and already when I say this, people are gonna like any credits or whatever I was going to go down the toilet when I mentioned, oh yeah, what put me in a science fiction mood was I watched like Rebel Moon, which the guy who recommended this book hated. He called it an homage to what was the word he said? Homage to the unoriginal, because the British have to have this like facade of being sophisticated about everything, even when it comes to insults. So I watched some videos by him where he's like, oh, like top 10 or whatever, no, top 5 favorite like science or best whatever space opera. And this was on the list. And I bought another book from him that he recommended from his cyberpunk, recommendations. So, yeah. He said, oh, this is one of the best space opera ever. And he gave the description where he's like, oh, the main character is a guy named Dan Silvestri. He's an archaeologist. And he's trying to uncover what happened to this long dead alien race. And there's an assassin that goes after him. There's this cool ship called the Nostalgia for Infinity with this outlaw crew. And there's this intergalactic journey, blah, 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 right? And wow, that sounded very interesting. Till I read the book, and it's like, yeah, very much like felt like, oh yeah, I was lied to, because it's not, the main character there's not one main character. There's 3 main characters where you get the point of the rotating point of views of. You have the one main character who's Dan Silvestri, who's this rich archaeologist who's trying to find out trying to find out what happened to this long dead alien race of bird aliens on this research colony. Takes place far in the future where there's interstellar, space flight, travel, but they don't have faster than light, capabilities, which is like, why is that even important? Why people make a big deal of that? Because it's like, oh, most science fiction, you have faster than light, and they're not really faster than light. And they talk about relatively. Who cares when that almost doesn't even like matter, because in this universe, people can live for like hundreds and hundreds of years. So it's like, what does that even matter, really? That there's relativity, right? When relativity plays a big deal, when people can live for like a long ass time, it almost doesn't matter. And the other 2 characters, if you have Voida, who's part of the crew of the Nostalgia for Infinity, which is this outlaw. Well, they're not outlaws, but they're like very, very much like, they have crappy morals. Let's just put it that way. Who are on a journey to find Silvestri because their captain is sick, and he's infected with this techno plague, where they have to keep him. They have to keep him deep freezed, or the bioorganic, techno-organic growths that's coming out of his body will take over the ship. and they're all like they're a crew of like cyborgs, which are called Chimerics or Ultras, which is a pretty cool name actually. It would remind me of Ultra Force. And then you have the third main character, Corey, who is this is assassin who gets blackmailed into going out and joining the crew of the Nostalgia Infinity, so she can get to the planet where Savesti is on, so she can kill him, right? And all of our characters, join together to go on this basically this quest to find out what happened to the Amarantian, which is these race of bird people. So that's where I felt like, oh yeah, I got tricked because people were probably thought, oh yeah, if a lot of people probably think, oh, I'm not gonna buy the book if the main character is not actually the main character. You have two other main characters who are probably even more important, that are more badass, and the male characters get shafted in this book, which the male characters like Higazi and Sajaki are probably way cooler, and I would have liked to read more of those characters. And there's this whole thing at the end, near the end of the book, where it's like, oh yeah, the Sajaki's like, we're gonna go on this quest to go look for alien life, right? To search for medicine to cure our captain, right? And then at the end, the Calvin, the AI in the main character's head is like, let's get the fuck away from this madman. And they hype up Sajaki and Higazi only for them to have anticlimactic endings. Spoiler alert. But yeah, it's like, what the fuck bullshit is this? They were the coolest characters, and they get shafted. All the male characters get shafted in this fucking book, man. And the female characters get heightened, right? They get elevated to be badasses and everything, right? If it was the other way around, people would lambast the book. Holy fuck! The main character does this one badass thing near the end, and it gets basically how do I say it without spoiling anything? But it's basically, oh yeah, it's it basically fucking ruins his sacrifice, I would say. He does this one noble thing for a character and this is a big problem in the book. Everybody reads like a fucking sociopath, ironically, except for the assassin. And to the point where when they don't list off who's saying what, it becomes very confusing on because everybody kind of reads the same. So it's when they don't list off who's talking, it's who the fuck, it gets very confusing. And obviously the technobabble is going to be confusing as well. But I do see why people like the book. This is going to sound dumb considering it's a book. You read it, but it has a really cool aesthetic. Very much reminded me. It's a mix of Mass Effect and Cyberpunk, Deus Ex, and you have some 90s sci-fi where they had the gothic, tech, bioorganic weird crap technology. Which, man, 90s, late 90s, sci-fi, that was probably peak, because everybody was inspired by H.R. Geiger stuff. But yeah, so that was very cool. If this was this would make for a really cool video game, RPG. But yeah, it's just what the fuck? They the way they fucked over the main characters, man. The male characters, right? It's just what the hell? They just even though I'm kind of a casual when it comes to space opera, I did get some of the references near the end, the mote in the god's eye, by Larry Niven and I forget the other guy, and like obviously very much 2001: The Space Odyssey. Uh, but yeah, and I like the book, but did I like it enough where I'll probably get the sequels? Probably not. Especially nowadays, how fucking this book. I bought this book 2 weeks ago, and look how fucking look at the condition it's in, man. The books nowadays, they print it like they have no durability, man. Like, oh my god, oh like Jesus Christ. But yeah, it's just, and the book is not cheap, by the way. It was like what, like 23 Canadian. Holy shit! Remember, but I got into the book hobby because it's cheaper than like collecting graphic novels and that like other shit. And it's like, dude, the books are getting expensive. I think that has something to do with the price of paper. I don't know. But yeah, it's a solid 7 out of 10. It's like very, like, it's obviously it's very good. I don't think it matters that the guy's a scientist, because like the technobabble, like science stuff is gonna go over most people's heads anyway. Who cares if it's accurate or not? But yeah, and like obviously it's one of those books where it doesn't get like like it only gets kind of good after like halfway through the book. You're probably gonna be bored until like maybe 100 pages in. But yeah, stick with it. It's a good read. It's, by the way, the book is like 530 pages for the main story, and then you get like a prologue, sneak peek for the next book, Redemption Arc, which I probably won't be getting. I don't know. We'll see. There's other sci-fi books I kind of want to check out that are probably more interesting. I'll probably like more, like Reality's Dysfunction. That sounds pretty cool. The Dauntless by Jack Campbell. Sundiver sounds interesting. Like, yeah, I don't know if I want to read more books from this guy, honestly, because it's like, yeah. I mean, it was good, but it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. I could care less. Like, yeah, about what, I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, the race of aliens that are like like, yeah, does it get some? If you're wondering, hey, is there cosmic like like a big cosmic, matters that are going to be like, widespread? Is like, did they hint at intergalactic war and extinction, blah, blah, all the big grand sci-fi space opera like ideas? Yeah, it goes there. And there's also action scenes for the people who like action scenes in their books, but they're like most of the action scenes like aren't till like like more than halfway through the book. There was this one action scene that was like post, like where like it happened, like they tell you about posts like after it happened, and was like, oh man, I hope that's not like that for the rest of the book, because like, yeah, I hated when like I read Starship Troopers for the first time, and it's like pretty much all the action scenes was like written after it happened. I was like, what the fuck? But yeah, I enjoyed the book, but yeah, it's just I felt like I was tricked into reading it. Like, I was expecting Xenosaga, and I got I mean, even I was expecting, I don't know what I got, basically Star Trek Voyager, I guess. Is the best way to describe it. But yeah, it was a good read, but fuck. Okay, our next book review, which won't be till next month because most of my my subs want like graphic novel reviews, or I don't know, game stuff. So our next book review is gonna be Black Sun Rising by C.S. Friedman. Which, how I decide book reviews is I have a I take suggestions, but I basically take 20 books from my backlog that are of mixed quality, and I roll a d20, and whatever number picks up, like shows, I pick the book from that from that stack. So yeah, next month's book review will be Black Sun Rising. And for people who are still around, I said after I've done like, I said like last year or a year or two, I can't remember. After I did 50 book reviews, which we're getting close to 50 book reviews on the channel, I would review a Brandon Sanderson book that's 1,400 pages long. Do you guys still want me to review that, or you guys don't care? Because if that book is gonna take me like, you know, a fucking month to read at least, 1,400 pages. Jesus Christ. All right, guys, that's it. Peace.